Well, hello.
I can hear you.
Where we?
I know, right? A little technical difficulties and,
Seems to be par for the course these days.
yeah, technology. It's your friend, it's your enemy. I don't know. I don't recall having this many problems with a fax machine when it first came out. But hey, it is what it is. Right?
Happy Thursday.
It is a happy Thursday. Good morning, everybody. For those of you that are joining us, apologize for being late. We had some technical difficulties here. As always, if you guys like what you hear, please share, please like, please, even if you don't like it, please share and please like. How's that? It's kind of like a
Go to a mountaintop and shout it.
Yeah, there we go. So we hope that we're bringing you guys value. It's that's our goal, and that's our, that's what we're here for. But any questions or anything like that, feel free to drop them in the chat. Chantel's behind the scenes today. And Chantel, if you see anything there, please let me know. And let's get started.
All right. Yeah, I wanted to chat a little bit about where we're at in our 120-day podcast series.
Right about halfway.
Exactly halfway.
Yeah.
Wow. Well done. We've got 13 weeks, and this is week 7.
All
so
right.
There we go.
Sweet.
But yeah, just wanted to real quick run through what we've been through, and I guess we could talk about what's coming too. But my idea was, here's a little reminder of where we've been. So we started off with getting your head straight, having a plan, right? Of course, very important. Prospecting for your sphere of influence, prospecting for your geographical farm, CRM, the brain of your business, buyer and seller consultations. Good job. Sorry to abandon you like that.
That's all right. That was a good one. That one was fun. I pulled out some magic markers on that one.
Nice.
So, yeah.
And then last week we did prospecting pay to play.
Okay.
So the Zillows and the Redfins and whatever else, the Home Lights and whatever else are out there.
Are we allowed to say Zillow anymore right now?
That's a good question. I think they'd rather us not. They would rather not hear their name anywhere, but they're still there.
Yeah, if you want to talk about trending right now in the real estate world as far as meta tags and things like that, you might want to throw that word in every now and then because it's all over Google and everywhere else.
Sending a bulk email out, find a way to get Zillow in the title.
Right? So, yeah. It's probably worth mentioning kind of what's going on because there may be part of the audience that doesn't really know what's going on with Zillow and what happened there. I don't know if you want to give a brief update of.
I'll give you what I know, and you can fill in the blanks. Sure. But yeah, a couple days, well, actually, a week or two ago, Zillow said, "Hey, we're overwhelmed. We're gonna tap the brakes, and we're gonna stop our iBuying program for the remainder of the year. We need to shuffle through our current inventory. We've had delays." As every business has seen in labor and in supplies. And they said they just need to kind of get this through the system and then they'll be back at it. And obviously they weren't giving us the whole truth. And just a few days ago, they announced, nope, we failed. We don't know how to do iBuyers. It's more complicated than we thought. And we're going to write off in excess of $500 million loss coming up here. I think that's what it was. It was their earnings call that really put them against the wall. And so, yeah, they've shut down their iBuyer program, admitted that it's much more difficult than they thought. They said the real estate market is much more volatile and hard to predict than we anticipated. What?
So that's fancy terminology for your Zestimates are not what they're all cracked up to be. That is, they honestly, I feel like they just tried to buy the market. Let's get in here, let's overpay for stuff, and we'll figure it out later. They're taking a loss on pretty much every single house that they purchased. And the numbers are high. It's not like, hey, we're losing a couple $1,000s on every property.
Yeah, now it's big.
Yeah, it was pretty significant.
That's a very interesting guess because we started wondering about Open Door and Knock and Redfin and all these other competitors and how they're doing now.
Right.
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
As it did with Zillow. But, right now Open Door is coming out full guns a-blazing and saying, no, you guys are a bunch of idiots. You don't know what you're doing. No wonder you guys went down. Today I saw an article, our market cap's going to outpace yours here shortly. which is all very interesting. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't know. I didn't have enough information on how these companies were buying.
Right.
So maybe Open Door was smaller, but maybe that's because they were buying smarter. I don't know.
Buying a little bit smaller, the margins
Smarter.
made sense, or smarter. Yeah, the margins made sense in what they were doing. I just, we saw it here locally. Zillow was making offers that were beating the market.
I remember the day that the first time that came to my consciousness was a couple of agents came and said, "My God, we wanted this listing, so we got aggressive. We said, yeah, I think we can make this because of the market." And they went to Zillow, and Zillow, on a 1.23, Zillow beat it by like $100,000.
Yeah, above and beyond. They still have that house, by the way. So,
yeah, probably.
yeah, so that, I think the number was $2.8 billion worth of inventory that they're gonna
7,000 properties.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So I'm very interested to see what happens. I want to see what this means to Open Door and Redfin. I've looked at both of their stocks just recently. Neither of them, they took a blip, but they're both fine.
Yeah.
Zillow was down almost 30%. They've rebounded marginally.
Correct.
Which, makes sense. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens to the rest of that sector of the market.
Right.
And whether they're lying or whether they're figuring it out. But we also need to remember, Zillow's not going anywhere. They're going back to their core business.
Well,
and
a question, here's a $1 million question for you. Are they going to get back out of the real estate business and go back to the technology business, which is what they technically were?
a lot of speculation going on about
right?
that. Yeah.
So
Because they bought Showing Time. Well, what does that have to do with selling agents their leads back to them?
right.
So that's a very good question.
Welcome to Real Estate Zillow. That's all I've got to say.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I told you where we've been, and hopefully you've been on that ride with us. And this is all in the vein of, hey, we're at that time of year that we need to end the year strong. We need to be prepared to come out the gate strong next year, because most people get ready in January
Right.
and then stop their activity in March, and that's their whole game plan for the year. We want you coming out strong at the end of the year, coming into the new year strong, and being consistent throughout the year. That's what's really important.
Exactly,
That's why we
yes.
talk about plans. So we've been through 6 topics. We're going to hit a 7th with you today, which is circle farming,
Right.
which is going to be fantastic. And then the rest of this year, let me give you an idea of what you can look forward to. So we're looking at creating efficiency and leverage in your business next week. That's systems and templates in your business. Too many people just scoff at this. Oh, well, let me tell you the truth. You're right. They're glorified checklists.
Yep.
But they're so important. Okay, listing presentation coming up, video and social media. We're going to do prospecting on marketing campaigns, so different ways. Circle prospecting is kind of like a marketing campaign.
Correct.
Of its own. Prospecting, we'll do digital marketing. It's like Megaphone and AdWorks and companies that do that type of stuff for you. And then honing your skills, role play, and scripts. God, as I read this, I'm like, this is a spectacular list. Like, these are necessities of the business. And then lastly is budgeting for your business. Everybody hates budgeting, but I think the practice or the action of just sitting down and saying, okay, let's just talk a little bit about your business, budget. Let's just look at a framework of what a budget should look like, and maybe give an idea. Take a look at this. How do you feel? Can you fill in some of these numbers?
Right.
Be in a meeting for an hour or two about this. And if you do nothing else, I think there's great value in that.
Absolutely.
Because most agents don't even get that far, and it's so important.
Well, one of the reasons I'm excited today is because what we're talking about today, low budget.
It's interesting you say that. As I was looking more and more into this and the strategies that people have,
You can spend some money,
exactly,
but
you don't have to.
You do not have to. You can do this.
You can almost do it on zero.
Well, your cell phone bill.
And maybe some 50 copies now and again. So
Exactly.
a couple bucks at a time.
Yeah, this is probably one of the least expensive prospecting activities. Now, remember what we always say: it doesn't cost money; it's going to cost us
Sweat equity.
it's a little sweat equity. So you expect to give more time to this than you would finances, which is going to make perfect sense. But the ROI on circle prospecting, circle farming is probably one of among the best that's out there.
Let me tell you why you should stay tuned for this whole broadcast. Maybe I should have put this out in advance to get more people here. I've told the story before. I'll tell it real quickly. I was at my house one day. I knew there was a new listing on the block. It was a very big farming agent in Irvine.
Right.
But this was not their area. It was very far from where their actual geographical farm was. And it's Saturday morning. I open up the garage. I'm kind of in my, my dingy clothes that I sit around the house in. Go out to grab my newspaper, and I look up in horror. I'm like, oh my God, there's that agent. And I know her very well. She's dressed to the nines in high heels. She's going door to door.
Promoting the open house.
Promoting Circle Farming for
Right.
listing in her open house. So if you think Circle Farming, no, I wouldn't do that. Well, there you go. This is a huge producer in Irvine who's dressed to the nines out there, 10 o'clock in the morning, getting it done.
Most of your, well, I won't say most, a lot of your top producers have some type of variation of this system in place. They may not have it in place. What we're talking about today is actually making phone calls, but it's not a lot different than a mega open house and going out there and talking to the community around there. It's not a lot different than that just listed postcard that goes around that's geographically targeted around a property that you've just listed. It's just a different method with a different message, but most agents that are successful are doing some sort of this activity or some kind of this activity in their business on a regular basis.
Yep. It's just another way to make contact.
Right.
Because without contact, you don't get contracts or you don't get conversion. So,
All right.
contacts.
So let's get started. Circle prospecting, circle farming. I have a definition. I'm sure you have a definition. For me, definition's real simple. It is going around a particular target in this situation. I like to use current listings, and you are really just calling around that current listing and letting the neighbors know about what's happening with that particular property. And the beauty of this concept is, we in the business, we pay a lot of attention to who's got a listing, who's this and who's that, and whose name is on that particular property. People don't realize that the consumers don't pay that close of attention. They'll know that something's for sale, but they don't know who. And just being proactive about letting somebody know about something in the community, whether it's your listing or somebody else's listing, you'd be amazed how many people are looking for information on that particular property, and you just happen to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. So it's the first thing you're looking for, right? The immediate.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's it. We're going to talk about that a little bit. In circle prospecting, yes, it's about the immediate. It's about finding those other people in a community or a neighborhood around a particular property to see if they're interested in selling. But once you discover that they're not interested in selling, it's about how do I develop a relationship with them, moving on and creating that lifelong relationship with them.
So in your example, because I believe circle prospecting, you can do it I think you agreed that you can do so many things with it. It doesn't have to be a just listed.
Right.
But a just listed is great. And I totally made this up. But I know there's a statistic that says something like this. But I wrote in here, statistics show that when a home buyer on a street lists their house for sale, another homeowner will list their house on average within 60 days.
Yep.
I made that up, folks. Those numbers aren't right. But it's an old Mike Ferry thing, or probably a lot of different coaches, that statistics do show that. And I know they have it somewhere. I just couldn't find it. But there's a higher probability. There's a higher probability around a new listing of someone else listing their home than just in the general population.
Correct.
And so that's the idea of circle farming is, hey, you're hitting a group of people where there's a higher propensity of potential activity than just going out there blind.
Correct. So the way I look at it, and the numbers that I look at, is when you pin a property that is for sale, within a stone's throw of that particular property, there are 8 to 9 other people that have selling their house on their mind.
Yeah.
Now, how strong you are and how far you can throw that stone, but I usually like to call it like within a half a mile of that particular pin. There's 8 to 9 other people that have the thought process of, we're thinking of selling our home sometime in the near future. So this circle prospecting concept is, I'm trying to contact these people and be in the right place at the right time.
Have you ever gone down a trail? I know you're a hiker and backpacked in your life, and sometimes you're going down a trail and you come up and you're like, whoa, what's with all these people? And you get there and they're like, oh, maybe there was a rain and maybe a creek has turned into more of a river, and people are like, oh gosh, how are we going to do this? You know? And everyone's clogged up there.
Right.
And then someone comes along and is like, what are you talking about? Blah, blah. They either just trump right through it and everyone sees that it's fine. And they're like, oh, okay. And everyone trumps right through it behind it.
Exactly.
That's kind of what circle farming is.
Right.
There are people thinking, we've had that plan. We've talked about it. What are we going to do? But it takes someone else's action for them to go, we can do this.
Right.
That's the person you're looking for.
Exactly. So a little bit more about what is circle prospecting, or what is you like to call it circle farming, because you've said that word a couple
Have
times.
I done that?
Yeah, I don't know if you had a preference.
I guess no. Prospecting. Okay. Let's go with prospecting.
Okay. So some of the other benefits of circle prospecting, we talked about it a little bit already. Cost.
Yes.
Can be one of the lowest cost activities out there with regards to finances.
So lowest cost is I just got a listing. I have an open house on Saturday.
Right.
And the hour before I'm doing whatever I'm doing to get that open house going, I'm going to go knock on as many doors around that house as I can.
Right.
To let them not only know there's a new listing,
Yep.
but that there'll be an open house this day.
Correct.
That's your lowest cost, most poignant way of circle prospecting.
Correct. Want to add some money to that? Print out some flyers for everybody who's not home. They weren't home. Sorry, I missed you. Don't want to spend that money? Take your business card, flip it over, and write a little note before you. You write your note before you go, so that you're not writing the note in front of every door. But it's just a simple, hey, sorry, I missed you. Stopped by today to just let you know about the open house down the street at 123 ABC Street.
That is so powerful. I'm going to give a shout out to Mike Slattery, no longer in the business, but if you're hearing me over there in North Carolina where you moved to, that's what he taught me.
Yep.
Little walking cards, and as I walked, I wrote.
Exactly.
Probably not for the next house, but for whichever one I was going to drop it at. And I'll tell you, I don't have the actual statistics, but those got return calls.
Yep. And I say this, if that's an activity that you're thinking about doing, keep that in mind when you design your business cards, because nowadays people get a little crazy and fancy with business cards. You got to be able to write on your card.
Yeah, either there's too much information on the back, or it's the wrong finish.
Right.
You can't write on it.
Exactly. So, but that is probably one of the least expensive ways to get out there and actually create that phone to ring and people to show up at that open house. And now, hey, I didn't get the listing to begin with. It doesn't have to be your listing.
Yes.
You know what? Hey, 123 ABC Street. Just wanted to let you know. Just went into escrow.
It's as simple as, hi, just calling to let you know that I listed a home in the neighborhood, to, hi, just calling to let you know that there's a new listing in the neighborhood.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
Exactly. And what's the status of that loan? So your phone conversation can be it's new. Your phone conversation can be it just went into escrow. Your phone conversation can be it just closed escrow. So you have ample opportunities there to shoot, I lost my train of thought there. Hey, not like that ever happens to me. But my point is that you can take one listing and there's a lot that you can do with it as far as your messages that are going out.
Exactly. Lots of opportunities, lots of variations that you can just hit on. I mean, you can almost build your business off of this alone.
I've seen it done. Actually, I saw a business model. It was, trying to remember the name of the agent. I'm sorry, the name of the agent is escaping me. But it was a husband-wife team. Their business model was simply sending out postcards around other listings, just letting the neighbors know once that thing closed escrow that this property closed escrow, and here were the facts on it, and putting a call to action on there. And what it created for them were listings all over the place, because it didn't matter where it was. They were sending it out. But yes, very successful.
And then you've got here that it's great for your database. So
absolutely.
It's kind of like, I know when we encourage people to geographical farm, and they're doing it for, they're like, oh, I'm not getting anything. I don't have any listings. And we're like, okay, well, it does take time. And What is going on in there? Well, I was passing out my flyers, and ran into this guy and he wanted his daughter needed help getting a lease. He asked if I could do that. And, I was doing some other stuff. I did get that buyer from that woman. Her daughter was buying a little condo over here. And I'm like, hello,
Right.
Collateral business? That's from farming. Just because it's not the exact thing you were desiring,
Right.
which is a listing in that area. You're building relationships with people there. You're doing business. And so that's kind of like circle prospecting is, okay, if we don't get that listing when we knock on the door, maybe your script needs to be written such that you're creating relationships. Hey, I put out a newsletter that has this type of information, and I'd love to have you on that if you think this kind of information would be valuable to you. All I need is your name and your email address.
Correct.
Boom.
So, whether you're walking or whether you're making that phone call into that community, you have most of the information. If you're making the phone call, you've got their phone number already. It's a matter of whether or not you can get their email address. But can you follow up? Absolutely. A little thank you note in the mail. Hey, I make a call to you, Travis, and we have a conversation. You're thinking of doing something. You're not thinking of doing anything. The power of, as soon as I get off the phone, just writing you a little note. It's great to talk to you today. Blah, 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 blah. Bringing up something in our conversation and throwing that in the mailbox so it shows up in your mailbox and you've got something that's a reminder. That's another touch point. That's about building that long-term relationship. And then next thing you know, you've got an email. Start an email campaign. And we're looking down the line of, again, every single person. This is, I guess I'm stuck on this because this is probably one of the easiest and fastest ways to build a database.
Yes.
You'd probably get 500 people into that database within.
Kind of my mind is going so deep here. Maybe I'll just kind of take the surface here real quickly because a lot of people throw these in. And I was guilty of this as well. And you just kind of throw it in. Put the email in and maybe click the newsletter or something. And boy, it's like years later, you're like, whatever happened to that person? Well, this is when you get into more powerful things like, okay, why don't I mark this person with a tag of met Circle Farming,
Right.
or this neighborhood, have 1,000 tags or labels in your CRM and make sure you're following up with these people because now you can call in 6 months. Hey, Nestor. I don't know if you recall, Travis Barron, Remax Premier Realty. Hey, I had touched base with you when there was that listing over at such and such street. Another one just came on down the street. Thought maybe you'd like to be involved in picking who your neighbor is going to be.
Exactly.
Got an open house this week and love to see you there.
And so the example Travis just gave was straight business related. But what about the other things that you can do to bring value to a community or bring value to that person? You put them in your CRM and you tag them and you're having conversations with them. Well, what value can I bring you? Too often, if you've got somebody that's calling you to say, hey, Travis, I need a plumber. Or Travis, I need a painter. Or Travis, I need a carpet cleaner. Or Travis, I need a contractor. You have the opportunity to establish that relationship with them and continue. And too often, we don't tell people that these are the things that we can do and help them with. And giving them a reason to give us a call for something other than real estate.
Yeah.
Got a call the other day. Actually, I take that back. I'm sorry. It was not a call. Was walking and somebody stopped me, brought up the shred event here at the office. When's your next shred event? Just walking. So
You've obviously made an impression.
exactly. So those are things in the community that you can do to bring value to the community and be able to have conversations over and over and over again. Hey, think ahead a little bit there, which I didn't in that particular case. What's your address? Who are you? Because a lot of times when we run into people out in the street, don't know who they are. They know us, but you don't know them necessarily. And that was a missed opportunity to, what's your address? Let me figure and let me get you on a list, and I'll let you know when the next one is.
It's funny you just said that. I was waiting for a pause to say, yeah, you got to have your scripting down.
Yep.
And you probably should role play it. Seems simple, but it's
Right.
not. You call up, say, hey, Travis, I'm Nestor. I'm in your farm, and I was just wondering, do you have a good plumber? We got a plumbing issue going on over here. You know what? I'd love to get that information over to you. So it's Nestor. What's your last name, Nestor? Great. Okay, I see your phone number on my phone here. Is that your correct number? All right. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and right when I get off the phone, I'm going to go ahead and text you over the guy I use. He's a great guy. Hopefully he'll be able to serve you well. By the way, in case I need to get a hold of you, can I get your email address? Or
Right.
is that all right if I put you on a mailer so you get this information? I do send it out occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever your script is.
Right.
Because most of us are like, oh, yeah, no problem. Okay, I'll send it right over. Kind of lost the goldenness of that.
Exactly. So we talked a little bit about what is circle prospecting. Let's get into a little bit more of why. Why should we be doing circle prospecting, and why is it so effective?
I'll let you take that one. You put that note there. Good one.
So why we should be doing it, again, is because it's one of the least expensive things that we can do. Why we should be doing it is because it's one of the most effective methods of creating business, creating a database. It's just so powerful. So, and I guess I go back to why is the question that it's so effective is a lot of people aren't doing it.
Yeah, I mean,
That's one of the reasons. It's
I know
probably the primary reason.
Yeah, I know we're low listings right now, like lowest in my 22 years in the business. But even right now, I mean, like 10 of those listings, maybe people are doing this around.
Yep.
There's hundreds of others that it's not.
Right.
So, I mean, it's like, what's my system? Right? We got 4 lines in the water. This would be one of your lines.
Exactly.
Say, I'm going to, whatever your frequency is, 3 times a week. I'm going to get up Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm going to go immediately into the MLS. I'm going to pull up the new listings. I'm going to pick the one that suits me best based on whatever your criteria on. Go for it.
Right. So I'm going to throw some numbers out just off the top of my head of what I think reality is. A call an expired today. Chances are call number, let's say it expired yesterday. If I call an expired today, it's 11:30 in the morning. I'm probably call number
15.
Oh no, probably more like 100, 130. If I call around a listing that somebody else took today or that I took today and start calling the neighbors, I'm call number 1. And if I call tomorrow, I'm still going to be call number 1. And if I call next week, I will probably still be call number 1. My point is, yeah, a lot of people are spending a lot of time, money, and energy calling those expireds, and you're competing with so many other people with a variance of all using the same script for the most part, trying to convince that one person. There's 150 to 250 people trying to convince that one person to come back on the market versus going out there and having a conversation with somebody who probably didn't get a call.
Yeah.
More than likely didn't get a call. The conversations are just going to be easier. So, yeah. Do you know if they want to sell? No, that's okay. Results are still going to be better.
Yes. Absolutely.
So that's my why.
Yeah, and I liked it just because of the variety.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's as endless as your imagination.
Correct.
As to reasons to reach out to people for these types of things. Obviously, the obvious are just sold, just listed, open houses. But, you know, if you're doing a farm or something, you just want to call a certain area, maybe there's a change in interest rates. Maybe there's a change in tax information or anything, home ownership related.
Mm-hmm.
Jump on the phone, grab a couple numbers.
Right. And, I guess I keep harping on this, and I want to emphasize, you've seen the results between a traditional open house and an open house where somebody has taken the time. Hey, have an open house on Saturday, and you spend your Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or your Wednesday, Thursday, Friday letting the neighbors know. Whether you're out there going door to door to let them know, you're leaving them a piece of information, whether you're calling them on the phone, whatever the case may be. The results that show up at your open house, probably threefold, twofold minimum. But realistically, it's more like threefold. You're normally 25 to 30 people at an open house. You're more like 70 to 80 people at that open house. And you're 70 to 80 people having conversations with the neighbors. Did we ever stop to think why the heck the neighbors are coming over? Right.
Yeah, because they're nosy.
Some of them.
That was the beginning of my career.
Right.
Nosy neighbors.
Some of them.
Isn't that opportunity?
Right. Some of them want to know, hey, what did they do remodel-wise? Some of them are curious. But there's some that are sitting there that are thinking of doing something.
Yep.
So
they're interviewing you without saying it.
yes, they are. I remember early in my career, somebody, they came to like open houses for almost a year and a half. And then one day just called and said, come list our house. And I spent probably an hour and a half, 2 hours putting together my listing presentation. And I walked in the door and stopped me like 30 seconds in. No, we're ready. We're good. We just need the paperwork.
What's the price? Sounds good.
Exactly.
Where's the paperwork?
That was exactly what it was. That's because I was interviewed for the last however long it was prior to, because they were coming into all the open houses in that neighborhood. So
Nice.
all right. What do you want to talk about next?
Well, you put it under keys to success here. I might say the opportunities of what circle prospecting provides.
Okay.
We kind of touched on a few of these. If I put these in my order, I would say, obviously the number one thing is what you referred to here as a short game, which is knock, knock, how you doing? Oh yeah, we've been thinking about selling. Come on in, or, hey, let's make a time where we can meet and talk about this in earnest.
Exactly.
And so that's the gold. But we got to remember, it's just like geographical farming. If you're not getting that, that doesn't mean your effort's a lost cause.
Right.
So what's the number 2 behind an actual list me now call?
Start to develop that lifelong relationship for me.
Yep.
So it's long term. So I look at every opportunity as doing something now, doing something 3 to 6 months from now, 6 to 9 months from now, 9 to 12 months, 12 months plus. What category do you fall into? And that's based on a conversation that you're having, questions that get answered, things like that. And then once you know that, that is now how it goes into your CRM and your database of how I'm going to follow up with them and what information I'm going to give to them. And trying to figure it out so I can create that long-term relationship with them. And then, once trying to create that long-term relationship, it's what value can I bring you? How can I help you? And one of my favorite phone calls that Michelle got the other day. This was a great phone call. She got a call from a past client who closed escrow with her like 5 years ago. And he called out of the blue. And she keeps in touch with him on a regular basis. But what do I owe this call to? I need this. He needed a contractor. And his words after that were, every time I used to ask you for something, your first words that used to come out of your mouth, Michelle, were, I got that. And then you would provide that information. So it, again, gives you the opportunity to just be able to create that lifelong relationship with them. So what does that turn into? That turns into referrals. That turns into other business. So that's the long-term gain.
Don't forget to put these down in your CRM.
That's right.
Nestor requested a plumber, sent him John's number.
Exactly.
So that you can bring that up later.
Exactly.
Because they remember. You won't remember, but they remember.
They do. They do.
All right, so we got the short game. We got the long game, which includes, like the follow-up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just making sure that you have a script, you've got a dialogue that you want to perform for people, and that you don't lose everybody, not just a, hey, ready to sell, goodbye.
Correct.
But, well, hey, let me keep you in the know.
Mm-hmm.
And get them in your database and work them.
Making it comfortable. I mean, when you go long term, it's about what else are you adding to that? Does it become part of the email campaign? How does your follow up and your, are you doing pop buys and things like that? How is it looking, and how are you showing up in that person's world? Mm-hmm. Hey, I talked to Travis. Travis doesn't want to sell. We're going to live here forever. I got no place to go. Is there anything wrong with calling Travis and saying, hey, Travis, just got a client that's looking in your neighborhood. I know you got nowhere to go, or that you're not going anywhere, but have you heard from any of the neighbors perhaps that somebody that might be thinking of selling? Because I'm really trying to find a property for these people in your area.
I love that dialogue. That was my favorite. People love to talk about their neighbors.
Exactly. And believe it or not, you want to help me. Right? I mean, it's one of those things.
That's true. It's a little glue.
Right. It's, oh, well, yeah. Heck, I can help him. And, and he's not asking me to really do anything other than, do I recall having a conversation with anybody, or did I hear any news going on? And so people naturally just want to help somebody else if they can. So you're putting people in that position to be able to try to help. Because here's the answer you hear. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I don't. And when you break that down, why are they apologizing? Because they want to help.
Mm-hmm.
So,
absolutely. Good stuff.
all right. Want to talk about the tools?
Yeah, I just noticed we don't have one on here. We've got a lot of good tools.
Okay.
But one that we're missing on here
Is?
a plan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that you got to have an idea. I mean, you can do it blindly, but I think you'll find pretty quickly, you'll be like, oh, God, why didn't I do this when I started this a month ago?
Correct.
So you'll probably self-correct pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But to have that plan as to what you're trying to accomplish is so important. And by that, I mean, like, the simplest plan, I think, is, again, okay, 3 days a week, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to find a new listing that meets my criteria. There's part of your plan. What's your criteria? Is it geographical? Is it price oriented? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? And then going out there, I'm going to knock on 50 doors, 3 days a week. Okay, well, what are you going to say? And if people aren't interested, how are you going to capture them as someone who you can continue to be in contact with?
Right.
i.e. somebody you can put in your database. Okay, if you're going to do that, what's your database? Do you have a CRM? And if not, you got to get that resolved in the beginning. I think that's the base level right there.
I agree.
Going to grab a listing. Here's my dialogue. Oh, no. Here, grab a listing based on these criteria. Here's my dialogue. Here's how many. And here's how I'm going to maintain them as clients if they're not ready to do something immediately. So in that scenario, you need a plan. Well, no, you've got one on here. Motivation, a plan, and a CRM.
I think motivation's probably the biggest one on there because it gets old quick. I mean, let's be realistic. You're getting a lot of no's. So it can get old very quickly. It can feel like you're not making any progress and there's no traction, nothing happening. But I equate that to, Travis, we go plan. You want to go plan to run a marathon. Your first 3 weeks, you're going to feel like you're not making any success, and
You're going to hurt.
exactly feels like crap. And then all of a sudden, it's like, I'm starting to see the results, and I'm starting to feel a little bit better, and things are actually starting to happen because you don't see it in the moment. It all comes later. And you wake up one morning and all of a sudden, hey, I'm not as sore as I used to be, and I'm able to go further and I'm able to go faster. That was because of the work that you did the weeks before, and it's just that building block. But, you want to create a simple plan. I want a geographic farm. Here's my simple plan. Get in touch with your title rep. Every single day, a new listing shows up in your farm, and get the phone numbers or get the information around that particular property, and either making phone calls or going door to door, knocking and letting them know about that property that just came on the market. Don't like that plan? Okay, call your title company and say, I need the information around every single one of these, and wait for it to go in escrow, and then call them, and then just give them an update of, just wanted to let you know, 1, 2, 3, your neighbors are in escrow and they're going to be moving soon, and start it there.
And I think that in itself is just so valuable.
Right.
But what I love about circle prospecting is when you layer it with something like a geographical farm.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's just money.
Yep.
You have your normal marketing and things going out, and now you're hitting little areas of your farm.
Right.
And making a different contact.
Correct.
I haven't heard this in a little while, but one of the things we used to hear, and I'm sure it's still thought by a lot of agents, is like, damn, how did that agent get that listing in my farm? I've never been able to even meet the person that lives in that house. I don't see them outside. I've knocked on their door. I don't even have the opportunity to that person. Well, every different avenue that you have to try and get a hold of people in your farm is a higher probability that you're going to reach those people.
Exactly.
This is one of those opportunities.
One of your favorite phrases, I see you everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. We see you working so hard.
Yep. That's always, when you hear that, you're starting to do things right.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean take your foot off the gas at that point.
So if we're going to step it up a degree from there, Nestor, what's our next tool?
Gosh, if I'm going to step it up, next tool is you're paying somebody for the information. That's probably the biggest tool that's out there. That there are companies that are out there where you can just basically plug in an area, you can pin a spot and say, hey, give me the phone numbers, give me their information. You can go as far as giving me their cell phone numbers, home numbers, things like that. They've already scrubbed the list against the do not call list, so you don't have to worry about that and getting in trouble for any of that. That's where you start to spend the money, and then you throw on an auto dialer on top of that so that you're running as efficiently as possible. That auto dialer is just dialing ahead of you to actually get people on the phone, so that you're not stopping and taking the time to actually look at the phone numbers and pick them up. The machine is doing that for you, and it's just telling you when it's connected, and you're taking that call.
Yeah, that's good. And I saw it somewhere. I thought it was on this list, but maybe you just said it. I heard from multiple people, and you'd be the third person, about coal information.
Yeah.
So it's literally COLE information.com, and you can even put a /real estate to immediately get to what affects us. And that's a place where you can go and get these lists.
Yep.
And they do cell phone numbers, and they do, in some cases, emails.
Yes, they do.
So that's a good source. I know we all want stuff for free. I'm the same way. I'm like, I can get this for free if I search hard enough. But the reality is the best way to do is pay for it. It's better information, and it's quicker information.
Correct. And, something like coal, create a small group of people. Everybody pitch in, buy the year subscription, because they allow you a certain amount of downloads per day, I think it is, on coal. But it is a simple system where you truly can just put in an address and say, give me a quarter mile or half mile circumference around that, and give me everybody's information, and it'll put it into a spreadsheet for you and send it right over in a matter of seconds. Yep. So is all the information right? No.
Yeah.
That's okay. Some of it is. So, and that's what you're looking for. So such and such from so-and-so. And your title companies, a lot of your title companies can help you with that as well.
Yep.
So
next for me is similar. You're talking auto dialer. I'm talking slide dial or slide dial broadcasting. Now, I will say right off the bat, I feel a little soft when I say this, because it's like, okay, I'm not really making contact with them. I'm sending out a broadcast message to people.
Yep.
But depending on your plan and what you're trying to do, this could be a great tool. I think it's best for larger missions.
Okay.
Like if you're 50 to 100, get on the phone, go knock on the doors. It makes sense. But if you're broadcasting to a larger area, I think it makes great sense. It can make sense in any way, but in my own personal feeling is if you have bigger numbers, 500.
Right.
You're not going to call 500 houses, let's be honest. And if you can get this out there, it pops a voicemail message into people's cell phone. They don't even, have you ever gotten that where you look at your phone, you're like, where'd that message come from? I didn't hear my phone ring.
Shows up as a missed call.
Yeah, that's probably a slide dial call. And so it's a way to do it. And there are people, looking around for our topic today. I see a lot of people having success with that.
Yes.
So definitely something that you could do. But this one, boy, you've got to have a real plan.
Yes.
Now we're talking about all kinds of tools, and I guess I could have thrown them on here and I failed to. But some of the things you're looking at is you'll use coal. You need the information. You'll get the slide dial or slide broadcast so that you can upload those numbers to make the message. But what about the response? So people are calling you back. How's that going to go?
Right.
How are you going to pick up the phone, or how are you going to track these at all? And one of the things that I know you use, and I use a little bit, is Google Phone.
Google Phone. Yep. Google Voice is what
Google
it's actually
Voices.
called.
Yeah. And so you can get a number from them, and then when the calls come in, you can route them.
Right.
You can see what came in when. You can get a lot of statistics that help you if you're going to be doing this consistently to make you more efficient.
So I love Google Voice, and some of the things that you can do with Google Voice, put multiple people on it, so the phone always gets answered.
Yes.
You have an ISA on the back end that's doing things for you. You have a full-time assistant. That phone can always be picked up. The other thing is, when that number rings, you know what it's for.
Mm-hmm.
You know that it's somebody that's calling for this. So you're already kind of prepped in what mode you're in and what your script's going to be, because you already have an idea of why they're actually calling. But I love Sly Dial and I love Sly Broadcast, and I always recommend it. Let's face it, some of us are just afraid to knock on the door in person. Some of us are afraid to pick up that phone and deal with the rejection of talking to that person. It's just reality.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. Slide dial it. That's better than nothing. And you're still doing more than most of the people that are out there with regard to that method. So kind of grow into starting to make the phone calls and things of that nature. Because you're not ready right now, that's okay. This is just a layer below, but can achieve the same thing. Now, you will get phone calls that come back. Why are you calling me? How'd you get my number? Why did you do that? You got to be prepared for those.
Exactly. And it's okay.
Yep.
You know, it goes back to the whole farming thing. Oh my God, Travis, I was in my farm and someone told me to leave and never come back and nobody wants me here anyways. I don't know if I can farm. I said, give me your hand. Congratulations. You're finally making a difference in your farm. So don't let one bad apple ruin the whole bunch. Right. And the best way to confront these types of situation is with honesty and empathy. Right. So, oh, wow, you know, I'm so sorry. I'll make sure I get you off that list.
Right.
It wasn't my intention to upset you. And I just thought it was some information you can use.
Yep.
Or whatever your dialogue's going to be. But make sure you have that prepared in advance. You don't want to get caught, you know, flat-footed.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of people get angry or you don't want to deal with it. You push it aside. The best response is always confronting it. Mm-hmm. I remember one time a lady called one of our agents and she had left a flyer on the porch and it was a colored flyer and then it rained.
Oh,
and then
I
there was
remember
a
that one.
stain on this person's door. And they called the agent, were screaming and just cussing them out. And she's like, I'm sorry. Where are you? Where are you? Okay, I'll be right there. And she went over. And she said, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. This was never my intention. It's always for something for good. Here, let me see. And she had stuff to clean it. She had a bristle brush. And she got down there, cleaned it off, and said, I'm so sorry. Make sure that never happens again. And the people were like, wow. She turned that from, I'm going to tell people you're a horrible person to, wow, I'm going to keep your number.
Right.
So you got to make sure you turn those potentially negative situations into positive, whether it be a call or a flyer or whatever it is.
That happens often. People don't know about that one. The other one, my favorite, when you're going door to door, that we used to hear a lot, people calling in when they have a screen door. People used to try to leave the flyers in the screen, and they'd slide down behind the Then they'd call pissed off because there's a bunch of flyers that are down there in their front screen. So, yes, I to Travis's point, you do want to be prepared when they call, and taking that head on is important. And you know, you're gonna get it. Sometimes my favorites are when they call and they say, hey, don't leave this on my door anymore. I say, wonderful, no problem, happy to help you. What's your address? Well, I'm not gonna give you my address. I'm like, can't fix your problem, can't help you.
You're gonna be getting my flyers.
Exactly. I'll see you next week. So and there are just people sometimes that bad day. And that's another interesting thing that I think is important. And when we get those types of messages or those types of calls, sometimes they're just having a bad day.
Most times.
Yeah. And they don't mean to do or say what they did, and can have a totally different personality and totally different situation a week later. So
or a different person.
Yeah.
My endless example of door knocking. I didn't want to do it. And I'm like, I know this house. So I'm going to start there. Mm-hmm. I went up and I knocked on the door. The lady opens it. I'm like, how you doing? You know me. And she's like, oh no, and just slams the door in my face. Only door I've ever had slammed in my face. Mm-hmm. And all the door knocking that I did, I was like, I literally went back to my car and drove away.
Yeah.
Next time I was in that neighborhood, I saw that house. I'm like, nope, I'm going up there. She didn't answer the door, but her husband did. Nicest guy ever. We chatted, had a great conversation. I was on my way.
Right.
Different day.
Exactly.
Maybe a different person. Maybe a different person from the same body.
True. And always situation circumstances. Might hate when you knock on that door. and the dog starts barking
Oh
going
yeah,
crazy.
I cringe when that
Yeah.
happens.
Or the worst one, you wake the baby up.
Oh Lord.
Yes. Just for the record, you're done when that happens.
Yeah, there's
There's not a lot you
maybe
can
a
do to fix
big
that one.
basket with baby things in
Yeah,
it.
there's
left.
just not a lot that you can do to fix that one. Yeah.
Well, there are two other tools that I snuck on the end of the list here,
Okay.
and they're not necessary. Well, one of them I think is probably necessary, and the other is just a bonus, which is BombBomb, the opportunity to send video messages.
Okay.
So these can be in response. Hey, thank you for calling,
Right.
blah, 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 whatever, just to put a face with the blind call that's gone out. And then Cloud CMA.
Right.
Or any CMA that you can put together quickly, because you may have the opportunity to go meet people. You may have the opportunity to present something electronically, but having that tool prepared and ready to go
Right.
is super important.
I agree. And you've been using BombBomb now for
It just auto renewed. I went,
okay.
well, that's a big number. But
Okay. So it's been a year then.
1 year.
Okay.
Love it.
Likewise.
With like anything that we're doing, you're going to get it and you're going to be clumsy and it's not going to be quite right. It's very funny. I went back and looked at some things that I've done months and almost a year ago.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, look how differently I did it back then. And as a matter of fact, the most recent video I put out, I went back to the way I was doing things because I'm like, I've gotten too far off. I don't know how I got here.
Right.
But that was my intent. And so by reviewing those, it helped me go, okay, let's get back to what I thought was working and what'll work well.
Some of the feedback that you get.
On BombBomb? What do I get feedback? I don't know what you're going for here,
So
but just likes or, hey, God, that's something I knew and I forgot. Thanks for the reminder and stuff like that.
What about the feedback? Because I get a lot of this feedback. Love the video just from the perspective of I love seeing your face or seeing the video or presenting the information in this fashion.
Oh.
I get that a lot.
Oh, I don't think I've ever gotten that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I get that a lot. So it's, oh, what software are you using? What's doing this and what's that and this and that? And
Well, maybe I should have a meeting with you and see what you're doing.
so I use BombBomb a lot for return emails. Somebody sends me a question or a message or has a question, I'll record the answer and send it back.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I
And you
use it a
put
lot
any
for that.
text below it, or you just simply do the video?
I just simply do the video.
Oh, I got to get on that. That's
Yeah.
great.
I tried it doing the text and things like that, but it was just too much. Record the video. They ask a question, I just turn on the camera, hit the video, blah, 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 boom, and send it.
Do you ever do it from your phone?
I do. Yeah.
That's great advice.
So that's why we're here.
Yep.
we learn the tricks and we share the information, and when it works, that's what we're here for, is to kind of share that information to make everybody out there a better agent. What did you want to do in closing? We're up on the hour.
Well, I think we always talk about having lines in the water.
Yes.
Can't put all your eggs in one basket. And this can be a great line in the water.
Absolutely.
And a supplement to things you're doing, or a standalone. And everything takes time to kind of figure out. But the first thing you got to do is take that leap of faith.
Correct.
And so I hope you guys look at this and you probably think, God, I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to arrange that, or make that happen. So just go for it,
Right.
Say, hey, the easiest thing for me is to go in the MLS, print myself out a flyer. You can print out a flyer with your name and everything at the bottom of
Right.
anybody's listings, and print out 50 of those and just go give it a try. See what happens. And say, I'm out here to get some, say to yourself, I'm out here to get some intel.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what happens. You're just paying attention. You're going to see, well, how many doors did I have to knock on to get an answer? How many people did I talk to? Why didn't that conversation with that person go right? Was my dialogue wrong? How can I change that? And go through that a couple times, and you'll be like, oh, hey, I got this.
Right.
And you can turn it into a great opportunity in your business. It's always there. It's not something like I got to wait for a certain scenario to occur for me to be able to do this.
Right.
And for those of you that are running teams or you're strong listing agents, I mean, this is something you just put in your system to do on every listing you have.
Exactly. So for me in closing, if this is something that scares you or you feel like it's overwhelming, I would say start with the easiest part, and that is call your center of influence, call your sphere. The listing doesn't have to be in the neighborhood. Travis, I'm just letting you know about 123 ABC Street, just in case, whatever, however that dialogue wants to go. But they're not going to be mean to you. They're not going to want to get off the phone with you. You want to start with this as business so that they know, and then in the mindset, Travis, this is a business call. Boom. And then I just say what I need to say. You'll give me the respect. You'll, boom, keep me on the phone for a little bit. We'll have a brief conversation, and we go on to the next, and you start to get used to it, and then you take it, and then you go on to the next. But start with your center of influence in your sphere. And then when one of them happens to say, oh, well, we were thinking about doing something, or, oh, we know so-and-so is thinking about doing something, we'll want a referral fee for the idea. Just throwing it out there. Yeah. Lunch is fine. Not asking for a lot. So. All right. Happy Friday. No, Thursday. I'm
look,
sorry.
Gotcha.
I know, right? It's a happy Thursday. So happy Thursday, everybody. We'll be back next week.
And I'll give you a heads up, as I did a little bit. I banged out the table. I'm not supposed to do that.
That's all right.
It reverberates. Next week is systems. And I know that makes a few people cringe.
Does.
They're just glorified checklists. They keep us on track. They allow us to be consistent in our business. All these things are what make us more sticky with our clients,
right?
To give them a great experience and to help build our businesses. So give it a try. Tune in next week. I think it's going to be a great discussion, and we'll talk about some tools and things to,
all right,
simply improve business.
Hey, Chantel, I didn't ask you if there were any questions that came through in the system. Kenny, shout out back to you. Kenny says he loves Google Voice number as well. Good morning, Fran. And a big fat yippee-ki-yay back to you, Miss Michelle. So thank you guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in this week and look forward to seeing everybody next week.
Absolutely. Have a great week.
Take care.